Herbert Hoover, sworn in as 31st President of the United States. First Monaco Grand Prix is held. All Quiet on the Western Front is first published in book form. The year is 1929, and this Willys-Knight was top-level car offered by Willis Overland. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that takes the time to cover cars not often talked about. We post between 4 to 5 times a week. We also do engine episodes on Wednesdays, all of which premiere around 4:30 Pennsylvania time, or at least that's the time we try. We cover the classics, vintage, some appliances, love the orphan cars, and cars off the beaten path, talk history, spec, and design of these rolling works of art. If that sounds like a channel that would interest you, something that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. I found this Willys-Knight. It was part of the Old Car Festival, which is a pre-war car show at the Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan, right next to the Henry Ford. All of the cars are before 1932. Unmodified, and they drive them around in the streets. Not only that, they're in a period correct town. Lots of people dressed period correct. So it's almost like going back in time for a weekend, which was really great. I honestly can't say enough good things about that car show, and honestly, it's probably my favorite car show this side of the Mississippi. It's honestly what the car hobby should be about. It should be about sharing your rides and experiences with everybody, and that's what that show is. You can experience those cars for what they were. A lot of people will say that those cars are going away, but that's not true. People are still keeping them. And I saw lots of kids, people younger than me, driving cars older than both of us. For those that may have never heard of the Greenfield Village, this is what it is. Henry Ford, you could think whatever you want of the guy, but he saw that what was happening to stuff, it was just getting destroyed and lost to time. So he decided to save a couple things. The village is almost 100 buildings on 200 acres. Most of the buildings are the actual buildings, like the Wright Brothers bicycle shop. John Willis. Okay, wait a second. We're going to stop here for a second and show you. According to Wikipedia, it is pronounced like this. And off camera, I will admit that I say Willies, but the correct way, according to Wikipedia, is Willis. I keep getting it in the comment section about people just get so bent out of shape about pronunciations. You're not saying it right. That's not the way to say it. When that's exactly how it's supposed to be said. Okay, anyway, John Willis bought Willis Overland Automotive Division of Standard Wheel Company, which founded in 1903 in Toledo, Ohio. In 1912, the company was renamed Willis Overland Motor Company. That same year, Willis Overland was recognized as the second largest producing automotive manufacturer in the USA, behind Ford. In 1913, John Willis went on holiday or a trip to England, where he became acquainted with Charles Knight, who was the designer of a different type of engine called the sleeve valve.
So the car has 2 sleeves that are rotated by an eccentric shaft, which operates very similar to what a camshaft does in your modern engines. And the 2 rods are driven half speed of the crankshaft, and they open and close the exhaust ports. The sleeves only move about that much. And as you can see, there's your exhaust port opening and closing, and that's your intake opening and closing. Your piston will run up and down the inside of the sleeve, and that's basically it. So instead of compressing springs and snapping valves, it's a sliding action, so it tends to be quite smooth running and quiet. The Silent Knight.
While in England, John rode in a Knight sleeve-powered Daimler and did 4,500 miles in 15 days. This was 1913, and after all of that, John was completely sold on the engine design. This is where sources conflict. Wikipedia will say that he negotiated for a license to build these engines, but the owner and the registry said he bought Edwards Motor Company of New York, which already had a license to build these engines, and thus just took over that company. The car that would use this power plant was called the Willys-Knight. Willis Overland was an umbrella company in the late 20s, meaning they had multiple brands underneath them. Think Ford or GM or Chrysler. Willis Overland had a really complicated lineage, but I'm going to try to break it down for you the best I can. Important to note, we're not going clear back to the beginning of time. We're just doing it here in the late 20s. Willis Overland was used until 1926, and then it became Overland Whippet, and then later Willis Whippet. That was used from 1926 to 1931. They were entry-level cars, and they did offer a small truck, which became the International D1. Falcon Knight was a separate endeavor, but it was only offered from 1927 to 1928. It was an entry-level sleeve valve engine. There is one in the pipeline, so we will be covering that story very soon. Willys-Knight was the top brand offered by Willis Overland from 1914 to 1933. John Willis bought the Edwards Motor Company in New York and then moved it to Elyria, Ohio in 1913 to 1915. Then he moved it to Toledo. In 1922, Willis purchased Stearns Knight of Cleveland, Ohio, which also used a sleeve valve Knight engine. Willis Overland would build about 500,000 sleeve valve engines in 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder configurations. 1929, Willys-Knight was offered as a 56 Standard 6, 56A, 70A Special, 70B Light 6, and our featured car, which is model 66A, the Great 6. Willys-Knight offered the Great 6 from 1925 to 1933 in 5 models: Model 66, 66A, 66B, 66D, and 66E. To complicate things further, the Willys-Knight Model 66A was offered from 1927 to 1929. Let's talk specs. The Willys-Knight Model 66A was available in 2 wheelbase configurations, 126 inches or 135 inches. It weighs 3,600 pounds. Price: $1,995, which is equivalent to you spending $35,819.70 in the year 2023. Total 1929 Willys-Knight production was 112,982 units. Moving on to engine. Only one engine on offer for the 66A. That was the 255 cubic inch displacement sleeve valve 6, 4.2 liters. It's good for 70 horsepower. Bore was 3.2 inches, a stroke of 4.8 inches. Compression could vary. It was backed with a 3-speed manual transmission. Theoretical top speed of 70 miles per hour. Let's talk advantages and disadvantages of the sleeve valve engine. Advantages included but not limited to: no valve spring to weaken under load or heat. Hemispherical head for better combustion. You heard that right. These have Hemi heads. Quiet and smooth running engines. The engine could show measured increased compression and power due to carbon deposits forming on close-fitting sleeves. Disadvantages: high machining costs due to lower clearances. Royalty cost. We can't go on without at least mentioning this. Some of the companies under Willis were liquidated, like Stearns Knight was liquidated in 1929, Whippet 1931. Willys-Knight ended in 1933. In 1936, Willis Overland would reorganize as Willis Overland Motors. Let's talk styling. Look at these bumpers and look at how they're designed. Check out the crest here in the center. Knight. Look at the bumpers in the back. Look at the steel in the back, and look at how it's connected, how the fenders are connected. Also, just notice how this is raised. Look at these headlights. Notice that the housings, look at how the housings are designed. And it's connected by this bar. This has one accessory light. And look at these jewels. Check out the hood profile. Kind of sort of looks like, it doesn't look like a Packard hood, but it's not one tier like a Packard hood. Angled ever so slightly. Wood spoke wheels. Willys-Knight there in the center. Look at the catwalk region. Notice the louvers. Better look at this hood situation. This car does have cowl lights on both sides. Nice bright work going to the other light. Cowl vent. This one has a sun visor built into the top. I just absolutely love all of the detail too. One windshield wiper at the top. Running board situation. Check out these rear fenders. This car only has one brake light. Gas tank is back here with the filler. Bumpers. Notice it has night crests both sides. There's more lights in here. I guess it's got 3 lights. This car does have drip rails. It starts right here and it runs the length, or pretty much all of the length of the car. It ends there. Check out these door handles. The door isn't heavy, it opens really nice. There isn't, let me step back here, that's how far the door opens. There isn't an armrest on this door panel itself. You can use this as the armrest. This is door handle to get out, window crank for the big window. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just notice how flat the floor is. Take a gander at this interior. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood looks like. Underneath the steering wheel, there's tons of space to put my hand in between the steering wheel and my lap. And the only reason I show that is because if you're too big, it's not comfortable to drive the car. The pedals come out of the floor. So if you were driving it, that's what it would look like. You have your advanced, your retard, this one for the spark. This one's open and close. On to the button switches and knobs, starting on the very far left. Starter button, key, clock, gasoline gauge, amp meter, Stewart Warner speedometer, odometer, and tripometer, oil pressure. Also notice the wood grain and bright work texture, headlights, and what looks to be a key to lock and unlock them. Very interesting. Up above is one windshield wiper and a rear view mirror. Coming to the rear door. It's a lot like the front door, only it's in the back, and it has a map pocket. Isn't an armrest on the door panel itself either. Door handle to get out, window crank for the big window. Look at how it's all trimmed out and framed out. Footrest, robe rail. Just look at how much space there is back here. Here's what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a quick gander at the pillar to glass ratio. That's what visibility looks like out the rear. Let's talk creature comforts. Flower vases on both sides, as well as dome light in the center, as well as ashtrays. These are just like little cubbies. Robe rail. There's a grab handle to hold on to. The windows do go down. They go about halfway down back here. There is lights also in the corners on both sides. Armrest Everything that is found on the passenger side is also found on the driver's side. There isn't any coat hooks, but there's tons of space. Like that's from my forearm, almost my elbow, to the back of the chair. Just check out this engine. Look at the steering column coming down. This is the fuel pump. It's vacuum operated. It sucks the gas out of the gas tank. And then there's like a float in here. Once the gas gets to a certain point, it runs off a vacuum off the engine. Fuel filter there. Updraft carburetor with air cleaner. Oil goes in there. Horn. Notice how the exhaust system works. There's a pipe that goes on the top, comes back, and then pipes out the back. On the positive side, different. And if you know me, I like to feature different cars, and this car definitely fits in that category. Not hard to get in and out of. Spacious, both front and rear. The seats are soft. The car is really well appointed. All the windows go up and down. Cowl ventilation. Different engine. Against it, the same thing with just about every classic car, especially from this time period. Finding people that know how to work on this engine can be really hard to find. Finding parts for the engine can be really difficult to find as well. But there is a registry and there is a club, and they are very active. And I'm sure if you reached out to them, they would be more than happy to help you out, which I should have honestly put in the positive side. After doing this channel, I found out more and more that classic car hobby is a lot of networking. If you reach out to the right people, more often than not, they are willing to help you. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. These may or may not be in the same price point, but what would you rather have in the first scenario? Would you rather have a 1929 Auburn or 1929 Willys-knight or 1929 Hupmobile? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for the second scenario. 1929 Studebaker or 1929 Willys-knight or 1929 Hudson. Going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel I call The After Party. Gives you the opportunity to share your rides, stories, anything car related. If you don't have Facebook and would still like to reach me, send me an email. All of it will be linked in the description below. Just know, I really do appreciate all your support and comments and feedback, because I read and answer all comments posted. If you're going to Hershey, I'm going for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I hope to see you there. And until next time, toodaloo! People have been asking to see more cabinets, so I'm going to show you this one. I'm just buttoning it up here, getting it done. I built this one today. It's going to Pittsburgh as soon as I get it done. Just like the videos, you know. Handles are like rims or wheels on a car. So you got these handles, and just look at that appearance. Or I don't know where the other one is, but see how different that looks just from the handles. And then if you put different hinges on it, it looks totally different. Just like the handles, if you put the handles down here, it gives it a different look. If you put them up higher, it gives it a different look. You put the latch, I put the latch right there, but you can put it down here. You can put it anywhere. It gives it a different look. See? Isn't that nuts? And I get it. Peeled paint isn't for everybody, but these are the cabinets I make. Nobody does arch doors anymore. So it's got magnets to hold the door shut too. If everything goes great, I can build 4 of these in a day. My truck's giving me issues with releasing cylinders. I don't want to drive it all the way to Pittsburgh, but I wanted to show you that a 5-foot tall cabinet
and some other cabinets, because you know you gotta take some other stuff with you. Maybe they'll buy some other stuff. Will fit in a Prius. So this cabinet is 5 foot tall, 32 wide, 13 deep. Will fit in a Prius. It fits. Does the hatch shut? Hatch shuts.